even when I'm down. Got my head in the clouds and my feet on the ground. I got big dreams.
Yeah, we got big dreams here at the GeniusLab. Thank you for tuning into our podcast. This is an exciting time because it's the beginning of November when I'm recording this. This means that 2021 is coming to an end. Now, in the tradition that I follow, every year is associated with a particular element. And the 5 elements that we work on, it's a 5-element system, is fire, water, earth, mineral, and nature. And this happens to be a water year. 2021 is a water year. And what that means is it's a year of healing and reconciliation. Now, if we look at the world, and a lot of us look at our lives, we go, this year was not at all any kind of healing and reconciliation kind of year. It seemed like it was more divisive and really, really quite complicated. So what we got to look at is what's going on. And the most important thing is to realize, for those of you who feel like the world is getting crazier and crazier, is that at the end of a year, a particular elemental year, at the end of that year, the energy of that element intensifies so that you can process all the things that need to be processed and move into the next year clean, with a clean slate. Okay? So basically, it turns up the heat, puts everything in your face so that you can clear it out. It's not to make you suffer at the end of the year. It's not to make you have a crappy holiday season or whatever you might think. Look at what's coming up and look at it as a gift. Wow, this is the stuff that's been either hidden or intentionally repressed or subconsciously repressed. It doesn't matter at all. Okay? What matters is that we want to end up clearing out. We want to, in this particular year, we want to heal everything that needs to be healed. We want to reconcile anything that's out of balance so that when we come into the next year, which is a fire year, we're ready to kick butt. Fire is inspiration, passion, clear vision, and spiritual connection. So if we can come into that kind of an inspired state, healed, okay, we're gonna move faster, connect better, and be much more get a lot more bang for our buck in the fire year if we come into it having done our work in the water year. Okay, so this might sound a little confusing, but those of you who have followed me for a while kind of know this 5-element system, and it's really powerful, and it has existed for thousands of years in West Africa. And it works. So just realize towards the end of the year, the energy starts to intensify to help you clear the things that you need to clear. Okay? The purpose of that is not to make your life miserable, but it's to have you move into the next elemental year, in this case it's fire, with a clean slate. Okay? So one of the things that's really important to do is to look at what issues are up for you right now and what's intensifying. One of the things that I'm finding is that people are, now that we're kind of on the backside of the pandemic thing, it's still very much front and center, but not anything like it was, when everything was shutting down and people were wondering if half the population of the world was going to be eradicated. And, there was a lot of uncertainty, right? What I'm finding is that many of the people that I work with are realizing that they have post-traumatic stress symptoms, and they're just becoming consciously aware of it because we've been in such a fight or flight, freeze, fight or flight mode with, every news announcement being, potentially catastrophic. Then you have the divisiveness of the people that are talking about the jab and the jab this and the jab that, and they're the aliens are tracking us through the vaccine, so don't let that shit in your body, kind of thing. I mean, I've heard more. I can't even tell you how much stuff I've heard about that. And then you have the other people that are like, you have to get a vaccine, and for yourself or others, and I've been dealing with this vaccination situation for a long, long time. I started going to Africa back in the 90s. And I think my first trip, I needed 5 vaccines. And some of them were good for 2 years, some of them were good for 5 years, and some were good for 10 years. And I remember having to get something for typhoid and something for malaria and something for yellow fever. And I mean, it was an array of things. And I didn't really think about it, to be honest with you. But it was mandated. If you don't have that proof of vaccination, you don't get into Burkina Faso. So I got the shots. And so anyway, the point being is a lot of people now are settling down, regardless of which viewpoint you have. You're on the rails, or you're on the track of where you're going to be, whether it's no vax or whether you've already got the vaccine or whatever. And now what's happening is your emotional guard is getting down, is pulling down, and you're realizing how vulnerable you've been and how challenging it's been, regardless of what your point of view. There's a tremendous divisiveness that creates more pressure. There's a lot of stuff going on, man. So it's not unusual, and it's not it makes a lot of sense that you would be in a distressed situation right now. So post-traumatic stress is a real thing that comes from trauma, and a lot of times you don't realize that you have it or that you have symptoms of it in the moment. Afterwards, you start responding to things in a way that shows that there's a wound. The beautiful thing is post-traumatic stress can be healed. I've been trained in an amazing protocol that is, every person I've worked with so far has not taken more than 3 sessions to be completely cleared, or let's say 99% clear. Okay. So I've had people that were on a scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, 0 being no response whatsoever, 10 being you completely lose your shit. I've had people who were at a 10 plus that after 3 sessions were at a 1 or a 2, sometimes at a 0. And several months later, they're still there. So this really works. So there are ways of dealing with symptoms of post-traumatic stress. But the bottom line is those things are going to come up and be in your face for the next 2 months, for the purpose of you to address them and heal them. So this is really exciting. Okay. Sometimes it's important to look at what is distressing us and figuring out, if it really belongs. Okay. Think about this. Think of all the stuff that you worry about from the past that has nothing to do with today, but you keep bringing up an event over and over and over again that causes you massive pain, massive distress. Something that happened in your childhood, something someone did to you, something you did to someone else. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that this goes. But the point is, the thing that's important to do in the next 2 months is sit with the things that are distressing you. Think of the things that you lay awake at night and that keeps you from peaceful sleep. What are the things that you worry about? What are the things that concern you? And are they relevant for today? If they are, beautiful. Work them out. Give me a call. We'll do an emotional clearing process, a protocol, and get rid of that stuff. Okay. If it does belong today and it is something that's relevant, then let's deal with it. when you face things head on and you just deal with what's going on, you are free of the distress it causes. So think about a situation. Maybe you hurt someone's feelings at work, or you made a comment that was misunderstood. And you wonder, oh my God, did they go to the boss? I hear all kinds of different stories from people, and bless their hearts, most of the time people are overreacting to something that hasn't happened yet. Most of the time I will ask somebody, so when you went to them and said, I feel funny about what I just said and that it might have been misunderstood, what did they say? And they looked at me and they go, well, I never went to them and asked that. So a lot of times things cause distress because we haven't addressed them. Addressing things can be really scary, especially when you haven't resolved and cleaned up things from the past, because what you're actually responding to is maybe many things from your childhood that have caused you to be afraid to confront something directly. Okay? In my case, that was it. In my family, it wasn't okay to question the authority. And so when I have an authority issue, or my trigger is someone goes, we need to talk, I immediately go to, I am in trouble and I did something wrong that I didn't know I did. And now I'm going to get busted for it and shit. So look at what's relevant, deal with it. Look at what's not relevant, things from the past. Let's work on it. You may have your own therapist or ways to do things. One of the things that I found to be really powerful is doing a ritual around things in the past that are no longer relevant today. For example, I look at stuff from my childhood that I might feel bad about, or that I got accused of that I didn't do, and injustice, and so on and so forth. And what I finally got sick and tired of it one year, and I just said, I'm going to clear this crap out. And this was before I knew the emotional clearing protocol. And otherwise, I would have just used that. It would have been a lot faster. What I did was I did a fire ritual. And it's a very common, it's used in many different traditions. And basically, I wrote down everything that I wanted to clear, everything that I wanted to get rid of, everything that was not relevant, and that for me to continue to have in my consciousness and present time was causing me distress. And I wrote all these things down and how I felt about them, the emotional attachment, whatever. Sometimes it was really clear and specific. Sometimes it was really vague. Like, I don't know why this pisses me off, but it does, and I don't want to be pissed off anymore. And then I burned it with the intention of asking the fire to take that away. The way that I looked at it was kind of like my body is a mainframe computer. The piece of paper was like a thumb drive, and I plug it in, I dump all the data onto that thumb drive, delete it from the mainframe, and then take that thumb drive and burn it up. And so as the paper is burning, I'm imagining all of these situations and emotions and everything that's going on as being eradicated from my energy field. And sometimes just once is great. Sometimes I would have to go back, and maybe there were 3 or 4 things that were lingering. But generally, it's quite a powerful ritual, and it works. So, one of the things as we move into this year-end scenario where the energy gets intense, and our stuff gets put in our face so that we can heal it. Try that ritual. In the next podcast, I'm going to talk about a grief ritual. And one of the things that I meet people constantly that are suffering from horrific grief. Sometimes it's about things that have, loved ones who have passed away, especially in tragic circumstances. Sometimes it's people in grief about, their life, their failures, their perceived disappointments, whatever it is. But I'm going to get into a very powerful way to eradicate grief from your energy field. And it's really a very powerful ritual, which I've used many times throughout my life. And but for now, work with this. Work with the fire ritual. Look at what's messed up. Look at what's hurting you. Look at what's causing you distress. Do something about it. If you need some help, if you want to do a emotional clearing session, feel free to get a hold of me, Toby at tobychristensen.com, and hang in there. We got 2 more months. It's going to be good, awesome. A lot of healing is going to take place, and we're going to enter 2022, the fire year, filled with passion and inspiration and power and clear vision and spiritual connection. That's it for now. Take care and keep looking up.